Before we start the show, we just wanted to say that our hearts go out to the victims of the shooting in Allen, Texas. Allen, Texas is a city about 30-minute drive north of Dallas. 8 people were killed, 7 people were injured, with a man with an automatic assault rifle that was, out to get people. And it just is ridiculous and completely insane that this is something we continue to deal with in our country, the United States, and that the things that could stop this are not being done. But today we're going to talk about basketball. We'll talk about Deandre Ayton. We'll talk about should the Mavericks go out and get him? Should they trade for him? But we just wanted to say before we start that our hearts go out to everybody, family that are all around here. You may know somebody that was there at the outlet mall at that point. And we just want to say our hearts go out to you. So, let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks now.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Subscribe or follow for free wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on the podcast or on YouTube, and then comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section, should the Mavericks trade for Deandre Ayton in the offseason? We'll explain why a little bit later. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code Locked On. Also, you can subscribe to our subtext. If you want to support the show, help us continue to be 5 days a week all throughout the offseason, subscribe to our subtext. Text us. We will respond. One of us will get back to you in a couple days or a day or so, 24 hours, whatever it ends up being. I almost committed to that. I was like, oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, you did.
Click the link in the description below, and or text the number on the screen or text the number in the description. Appreciate each and every one of you helping to support the show. Bunch of you doing that. We really appreciate you guys. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com. The hotel homie, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
It is a random name. I've never heard you.
I had nothing else
say before. Luka Doncic was in the news last week for doing something that was really cool on his part for a very super sad situation. We didn't talk about it on Friday because I think the news report came out Thursday or Friday last week. But there was a shooting in Belgrade, if you did not see that, where 8 children were killed. A security guard was killed in an elementary, and Luka Doncic committed to pay for the funeral services and grief counseling for the classmates and staff. And you can read a story about it on ESPN. But just wanted to kind of shout out Luka on that. And it's always, I don't even know the right word to say it besides like it's, when you see a player, a person that has the spotlight and a platform like Luka to use it in this way, thankful that he's a Dallas Maverick.
Absolutely. To see him to send support out and go out of his way to do this. His family from Serbia, obviously the connection with Serbia there for a long time. And just to reach out and to do that, it's just a great act of kindness from Luka, and you love to have that in a person on the basketball team that you love. And so great on Luka. Another, again, tragedy that happened, and our hearts go out to everybody that that is dealing with that and will continue to deal with that. But today we are not going to talk about the shootings and things.
I don't even know how to transition. I mean, can we talk about Matt Ishbia? Like, what was
the Pez dispensing owner?
There's never a. It's so fitting that this owner is the same team as Devin Booker. It's just you can't write it in a script. But I mean, honestly, I can't say much because I think Mark would do something. I could see Cuban doing. We're talking about Mark Cuban, who did a whole prank and went on the court, with a ref and everything. Like Mark would do something like this, but the fact that it just happened to be Ishbia, who was 100% holding the ball on purpose.
For sure.
and the Jokic and then the flop. And it's like, come on. Jokic doesn't even know who this guy is.
So in the second, he didn't, because after the game, he said he's some fan. He didn't know who he was 100%. But so we're talking about in Suns in Nuggets game 4 in Phoenix. Matt Ishbia, the brand new owner of the Phoenix Suns, who used to be a bench guy for the Michigan State Spartans team that won the championship back in like 2000, I think. So he's played basketball and played at a collegiate level.
He's like Mateen Cleaves, like Mo Peterson.
He's courtside obviously, and the ball goes into the stands. He gets it, and Jokic goes up to go get it from him. And there's like, I think Campaign is like laying down on the ground, and like he's looking down at him, and then Jokic grabs for the ball, like lunges over. Campaign tries to grab the ball and pulls it from Ishbia, and then Ishbia's like holding on to it and like holding on. You've seen the clip probably by now, and then Jokic kind of gives him a little forearm, just a little nudge. I don't even want to say it's a push. It was a little nudge after he was pushing him. And then Matt Ishbia just completely takes a tumble and falls back. And so the flop from the owner. But yeah, I agree. I think Cuban would try a very similar thing. And there was a lot of tweets I saw that Cuban was so jealous that Matt Ishbia was the first one. And Devin Booker said it right at the end. He's like, hey, he got us a point because they got a technical on Jokic, and then they went and they made the free throw. So they got a point out of it. Today, though, we're going to get into Deandre Ayton, because the other story about the Suns, besides Kevin Durant, Devin Booker being incredible in these playoffs, they've been shooting so well and all that. The other story is that Deandre Ayton has been up and down for them, and it's mostly down at times. And there's this story about Deandre Ayton, and the story with Ayton and the Suns is rocky. It's, he's signed an offer sheet. There's a lot of different things. I'll walk you through the whole process of it. But we're going to talk about if the Mavericks should go after him in the offseason, because I think it is a real possibility for them. So let's start with this. In July, you remember, Ayton could have signed an extension with the Suns. Instead, he's a restricted free agent. He signs an offer sheet with the Pacers. He was ready to leave. He was ready to get up and leave the Suns. Instead, the Suns matched the offer sheet. He comes back. In September, in training camp, Ayton revealed that he had not spoken to Monty Williams since the Game 7 loss to the Mavericks. And that was kind of revealing to us, like, oh man, that's kind of weird that you don't talk to your coach throughout an entire offseason like that. December, Ayton and Monty Williams got into a heated exchange during a loss to the Wizards, if you remember that. And then this game 3, so not the game that happened last night, but the game before that, Ayton got benched at the end of the game for Jock Landale. Ayton was furious on the bench, according to reports. He left the arena before media was speaking to him, before he could speak to media. And so now we're looking at it like, could DeAndre Ayton be available?
Yeah, there's some the body language doctors were out in full force.
I'm there. I'm with them.
There was also some videos coming out from the Suns bench the other night of him mad, not high-fiving teammates, Chris Paul, like this whole big thing. And I would even say it started before like free agency and him signing an offer sheet. I feel like we heard about
for the reason he signed the offer sheet.
Yeah, riffs with Monty and stuff. So yeah, they have this unique situation because they had to match it for the asset alone. He makes $30 million a year on this team that we're watching, the Suns team. And if the Suns don't make it past Denver, or even if they don't make it to the finals, the reason why that happens is because they have no depth. And because KD and Devin Booker's going like supernova right now, but they don't have much depth after that. And whenever you're paying another guy like DeAndre Ayton $30 million, if you don't, it's kind of the trade out. It's like either you have a big three if you're going to pay him that much, or you have more depth. And right now they're not really getting that, and they're just riding the supernova duo.
Yeah, and so then now you're looking at, okay, can the Mavericks get into it? Should they get into it? I think they should. There's you've heard talks from Gambo from Suns media that says, hey, watch out for the Kyrie Irving sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton in the offseason. And so we'll talk about that possibility.
Tim Cato, there's different links to Dallas. Tim Cato mentioned him in a latest Athletic piece. I'll go ahead and throw this one out there. His agent is Bill Duffy. And so a lot of connections there. It's
Luka's agent as well.
His agent. Dallas has a lot of connections with Bill Duffy. And Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton, they know each other. Same draft. Ayton went number 1. Anytime Phoenix is in town, you see him chopping it up and stuff. So there are tea leaves there. There is some stuff there. It isn't just fabricated out of nowhere.
So we'll talk about that and if the Dallas Mavericks should go after him and why they should go after him coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You can go to Prize Picks right now, pick on the projections of players. Pick 2 to 6 players if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projections. That's points, rebounds, assists, points plus rebounds plus assists. You can combine those if you want. 3-pointers made, points and rebounds, points and assists, free throws made, turnovers. If you want to bet like the over that someone will have more turnovers in a game, like the Warriors against the Lakers. If you want to do that, the Warriors have been coughing it up a lot. You can go in. Let's just pick this Heat versus Knicks game coming up. Jimmy Butler 28.5, more or less.
Less.
Ooh. Julius Randle 23.5.
More.
Ooh. Bam Adebayo 17 points.
More
than that. All right, but just do those 3. You put down $20, you can win 100. Put down $100, you can win 500 on that on the power play. So check it out. See what else is available. It's not just NBA. And again, use that promo code LOCKEDON to get a 100% match up to $100. That's Prize Picks. Download the app or go to prizepicks.com. All right, Isaac Harris. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on the Locked On Mavericks podcast 5 days a week throughout the offseason. Subscribe to our subtext to keep us that way. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're talking about Deandre Ayton. He seems like it could be available, or at least had for a price in the offseason, because the Suns may need to make some decisions. If they lose this, now they are tied 2-2 now, but if they lose this in this round of the Nuggets, and you can just tell, all right, we got to change things up. We don't have the depth to make this work. We don't have the right wings to make this work. Then they'll have to make some kind of move. And especially what if Ayton gets benched again for Jock Landale? I mean, after game 3, this was a much bigger conversation than he probably just had his best game in game 4.
Because that's he got benched because he got outplayed. Like he got out hustled by Jock Landale, a guy that's making under $2 million on an expiring contract that is just outplaying him. And it shouts to Monty for playing a guy who makes $28 million less than your starting center, and you're playing him over him, because that's kind of the thing with DeAndre Ayton is the effort at times.
Yeah, the effort, being part of it, not like going spacing on offense or defense at times, and staying engaged and all that. Maybe he just needs to change the scenery. There's been a lot of talk about him throughout his tenure, about his maturity, about how he's committed. And wasn't there that story about playing video games like super late at night? Remember that was a couple years ago. But like, there's just been some weird things, and there's been questions about DeAndre Ayton's commitment to basketball, commitment to the Suns specifically. He signed with another team, so he's not really committed to the Suns exactly. And so, could they be looking to shed that money?
The thing with them shedding that is, in the past, if it was Robert Sarver, it would be about, I think you would look across the league and say, how could they shed the contract to save money? Ishbia seems like he doesn't care about saving money. So I think for them, it's going to be more about basketball, and it's about trading one contract to trade it off for multiple pieces, whether it's Dallas or whoever it is. I think that's the route that they're going to try to go, is how can we break this thing up?
You're saying that they could trade a big man making like $30 million for flexibility reasons? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that something that we've heard in the past?
Has somebody done that?
Has anyone done that?
Do we know anybody?
Do we know an owner that has done that? Can I think of one?
Explain yourself.
Sorry.
So let's start with why they should. Let's do all the reasons why. We'll do all the reasons why they shouldn't a little later, but let's start with why they should. I think that one of the reasons why is he's exactly what they need in a center. Defense, rebounding. He's a roller. He can do some other offensive stuff. He got a little turnaround jumper. He can do the little push shot, not really a hook, but like that little push shot in the lane.
He's got touch.
He's got some touch around the rim, and he can do all those things. And all those things the Mavericks haven't had in a center ever. Since Tyson Chandler, really. He fits all those things that you could do. And he also has some pretty good feet that he can do some of this rotating defense that the Mavericks want to run. He's not a plotting type center like some of these others. You've seen him get out and guard guys. Now he has struggled against Jokic. I don't know if you can hear my dog whining in the corner.
I was like, what was that?
That's my dog.
Sound like a door opening.
He's not going to stop Jokic, obviously, but he's going to do a lot better than like Dwight Powell or whoever else, JaVale McGee, whoever else they throw out there. And so I think for all those reasons, like the Mavericks should absolutely consider this, at least, legitimately.
Here's the thing. Dallas is going to the offseason, and one of the biggest things we've talked about, you've been on it probably a little bit more than I am, because I think wing over big. But we both agree on the fact is they need to bring in a center that is your guaranteed starting center. Like there's no debate. It's no bullpen. There's no Dwight Powell versus JaVale McGee type thing. It's time to make some type of an investment. Now we'll debate whether this investment is the right one to be made, but some type of investment more than, $5 million into a guy that's going to be your guaranteed starting center. So say that he would be that. He's 24 years old. Like we said earlier, same draft class as Luka Doncic. So age, if you're a timeline person, here you go. If it's the timeline, if you care about all that stuff. Here's a couple other things too. If you're questioning like, man, how good is he? There's only 10 players this year that averaged over 10 rebounds a game. He was one of them. There was only 6 players this year that averaged at least 18 points and 10 rebounds a game. He was one of them. Those 6 players who did that: Julius Randle, DeAndre Ayton, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, and Sabonis. So,
so just like 3 first-team All-NBA guys, probably 2 second-team, and Ayton.
5 of the 6 were all-stars. Ayton was the 6th. Right? I think Julius Randle was an all-star.
Right.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
So anyway, like 5 of those 6 were all-stars. Ayton was the only one who wasn't. So you make that case. And let me ask you this real quick. I just wrote them down because if you could just say the blanket statement of DeAndre Ayton is a top blank center in the league. So take Embiid and Jokic off. Like they're in a whole different tier. I'm gonna throw out your names and you say Ayton or this player's name, okay?
As being better?
Or who you would take.
Who's better? Yeah.
Who you take for the Mavs? Sabonis or Ayton?
Sabonis.
Rudy Gobert or Ayton?
Am I considering contract or just
No, just talent?
Jesus.
Ooh. I think I'd still take Gobert's talent.
But Ayton's age. I would take Ayton's age.
I'm not talking about contract. I'm just want to say top talent next year, top blank in the league.
Okay. Gobert, talent. Yeah.
Capella.
Ayton.
Me too. Vucevic.
Ayton.
Bam. Me too. Jared Allen. Interesting.
Thinking about it.
Kevon Looney.
Paused on that one. Ayton.
Pirtle.
Ayton.
Porzingis.
Ayton.
Brook Lopez.
That one's just got like second team. So he's got like second in defensive player of the year, and he can shoot.
Okay,
I'll go Brook Lopez.
Let's just say you put Brook Lopez. So that's Embiid, Jokic, Brook Lopez, Bam, Allen, Sabonis, Gobert. So safely top 8 center in the league, right?
How about that?
So my point is, if you're wanting to make the upgrade, you wanting to make an investment into a center this offseason and saying, hey, we want this guy. We need help rebounding. We need help defending the paint. We need a guy who can play with Luka Doncic. You have a guy who's 24 years old, who's in the same draft class as Luka, who's one of 6 players that averaged over 18 points and 10 rebounds a game, who we're saying is a top 8. Let's just be safe and say top 10 center in the league. So why not go after him? So like that's my point. It's like I've warmed up to it a little bit because you also got to think about Dallas's angle of shocker here. Dallas is never the first in line for all the like coveted free agents, right? Like they're like you hardly ever for Dallas, you hardly ever get to pick the perfect fits out there. So like DeAndre Ayton might be gettable this summer for a trade package. I think Dallas could actually entertain. And for you to like walk away from it, I think could be a mistake. Maybe.
You didn't mention Anthony Davis in your player ones. So throw him there. So safely top 10 though.
Yeah.
And Towns, but Towns is now a 4 with with
Yep.
Gobert. That's weird. Miles Turner, maybe throw him in there, but yeah, I think we can safely say top 10. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that the last reason I had written down was his value was low. Like you're trading.
No, yeah.
Aaron, I'm forgetting his last name off the top of my head, but Aaron,
Holiday?
He's on Locked On Suns a lot.
Mintz?
Oh my gosh, I can see his face, but I can't remember his last name. Anyway, Aaron's on Locked On Suns. He writes for Jason Concepcion's show sometimes on Crooked and all that kind of stuff. He is a huge Suns fan and was like, damn, I can't believe we're about to trade Deandre Ayton for like a box of scraps this offseason. Like his value is just low. Suns fans are even saying it right now. The same way we talked about Porzingis at certain times in playoff runs. We're like, man, like we've seen this guy at his peak and at times, and then all of a sudden, like right now, he's just playing at just the bottom level, and that's what Ayton was. And then game 4, he played pretty well against the Nuggets, but I think his value is low right now, especially for a number 1 pick with 3 years left on his deal and all that. But coming up, let's tell you why they should not do this. I've got some reasons.
I also have some trade packages.
I have trade packages too. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about trade packages coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into the Dallas Mavericks and Deandre Ayton. We talked about all the reasons they should do it. Let's talk about the reasons they shouldn't, and then we'll get into some trade packages a little bit later. Why they shouldn't do it. The cap hit. $32.5 million next year, $34 million the year after that, $35.5 million the year after that. I think that's the number one reason you look at and say, okay, if you look at the centers in the NBA, I just went to Spotrac and just filtered by centers. Here are the centers making more money than DeAndre Ayton next year. Jokic, yeah. Embiid, yeah. Gobert, LOL. Anthony Davis, okay. Then it's Ayton. Then Bam is like right there with him at 32. Then Towns right under him. Then it drops down to Clint Capella at 22. Miles Turner at 20. Jared Allen at 20. Nurkic 17. Valanciunas 15. Mitchell Robinson 15. Steven Adams 12 million. Like, these are the starting centers in the NBA. You have to either be one of those top centers or like a $10 to $20 million center in the middle that kind of, that is not even going to be close to an all-star, but a really good role player. And Ayton is like smack dab in the middle there, and it makes it harder for you to build a team around, especially if he's not going to produce the way that he has for the Suns, which is one of the reasons why he's going to be available.
Yeah, that's why I was saying in the perfect world, I think, man, if you're in Dallas spot, if you could land a guy like a Jared Allen or a Clint Capella, somebody around that $20 million mark, Miles Turner, yeah, like that 18 to 21, somebody through there, to where like that feels like an adequate amount to like invest into a center spot in this economy. But that's what, and you look at it and you're like, man, $30-something million to a big, like, it shocks me that I'm even like open to this, because once the Porzingis stuff like kind of just ruined me. I was so tired of it by the end. I'm like, I'm so tired of the like second sidekick to Luka that's $37 million being a big. Like, I can't take it anymore. I want a guard, I want a wing, something like that. But so that's why it's like when you look at the DeAndre Ayton situation, like, man, it's not ideal for Dallas. It would suck to like lock in that much money for a center, but it might be like the best you could possibly.
No, we're doing the no's. We're doing the negative.
Yeah.
We've already.
So
done
that's
the
why you don't do it.
Yeah, you don't have to. You're paying 50% more for Ayton, just salary wise, 50% more for him than Miles Turner, Jared Allen, Clint Capella. You're paying 100% more than Mitchell Robinson. But that's what
you can't fully do that, because you don't have those guys in your door. Like, you're not making the decision. Like, you could also look across the league and like, man, look at this, like Kevon Looney.
You're made like 9, yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah. It's all about like who's available to you. But if you had it right on the table, it's like Miles Turner, DeAndre Ayton, Miles Turner for 18. Like, then it's like, all right. But
can you still win with a $30 million center now? I mean, I think you can win with Ayton. They went to the finals a couple of years ago, and they made it to the second round. They went game 7 in the second round last year. Like, I
did. Who did they play?
Trying to remember what happened.
I think they got beat in game 7.
No way. They were the number 1 team in the NBA last year. They won 64 games.
I swear they got smoked in game 7.
In game 7?
I'm pretty sure they were embarrassed. If y'all remember that game, could you
Yeah.
tell me who they played? Could you write in the comments?
Comment below. Remind us who beat the Suns in game. I can't remember. They were the best team in the NBA last year.
I could just like picture him like frowning on the bench right now.
But he also shrinks in big games. Speaking of Game 7 and speaking of others, like we've seen him time and time again. In Game 3, Nuggets Suns recently, he was awful and got benched. And we've seen him shrink in big moments, shrink in big games, and then he'll back it up a little bit later, but inconsistent. So shrinks in big games, inconsistent.
And the motor, like you got to throw the
why.
motor stuff out there of like for a guy his size. And I mean, he almost has like a perfect body for a center. Like,
ooh, tell me more.
And for him not to just go up for dunks sometimes or not feel like he's like really hustling down there. Is it a coaching thing? Is he like, is that maybe a change? I don't know, but still like that's not, encouraging.
Speaking of a coaching thing, he also has issues with Monty Williams, which if you have issues with Monty Williams, like I don't know, because Monty Williams is like the nicest, like best guy I've ever talked to and like ever been around in basketball. Just like a great guy. He's for all his players. Like I don't know what's going on between him, and maybe it's just basketball reasons. Like maybe it's just David Stern basketball reasons that he has issues with Monty Williams. But they've had issues, obviously. I mean, there's been heated exchanges several times. Then my other thing is, what would it cost if it's a Kyrie sign and trade? Can't do it. Like you can't do that. Sends you literally back to Luka and Porzingis again, right? Like it just takes you full circle back to what you had before and what you were complaining about in the last earlier in the show about how it's Luka and a $30 million big that isn't worth the money that you're paying him, and then figuring out who else is. So if it's a Kyrie sign and trade, I can't do it. But if it's
Kyrie or nothing, would you rather take nothing?
Well, so yeah, I mean, no, I wouldn't rather take nothing, obviously,
because that's the thing of like, what if Kyrie went to the front office and said, I want to go to Phoenix. Would you be interested in this? If you're not, then
how much can Phoenix pay you? Can Phoenix pay? Like you got to leverage some stuff.
Yeah, well, I know exactly.
That's Phoenix going to allow you to do the things that we're allowing you to do here? No.
Yeah, and that's where Phoenix could look around and would Kyrie's leverage be, hey, they're going to find another team to take DeAndre Ayton, so they'll open up more space. I don't know that. Yeah. I do think, let me say this. I know the easy route to this is like, hey, Kyrie, DeAndre Ayton, all of that stuff. I do think his value is low enough to where they could get him. I think they could get him without like having to do the Kyrie route.
I agree. I've got some packages. Oh, go ahead and give your packages.
You got a package?
I've got 6 packages. I know you're only supposed to have one. I've got 6. It's all various iterations. I think Tim Hardaway has to be in the deal.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's Tim Hardaway plus either Maxey or Reggie Bullock, because that's the $10 million salary you're getting in there. And then JaVale and a pick. So JaVale in the 10th pick.
Okay.
Or take JaVale in the 10th pick out and make it Josh Green. Or you can do JaVale in a future first.
See, I thought his value is even a little lower.
Could be, yeah.
I started off with Tim Hardaway, Bertans, and 10.
I like that one better than mine. Although then the Mavericks have like 5 centers. So
and then it was Tim, Maxey, and JaVale for Ayton. Because like once again, the whole negative thing, what we've talked about it is teams across the league. Like, is another really good team going to sell themselves on paying DeAndre Ayton $30-something million every year? You're going to have to find...
traded for Gobert. Like at this point, yes.
The
answer is yes. There will always be some team that talks themselves into it,
AKA the Dallas Mavericks. No, and so that's a really good point.
True.
But that like Dallas is kind of in the same situation as Minnesota. Like they would be the team. They would be the type of team that would say, hey, we'll trade for DeAndre Ayton at that point. And something I don't think we haven't talked about this whole entire pod either. And this is going back to the pro point is he could still get better. Like he's not in the prime of his career. Like he's 24. So, I mean, we could be looking at a much improved DeAndre Ayton in a different situation when he's 26 compared to, in Phoenix at 24 playing with KD, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul.
We've only seen him play with those guys. I mean, we've only seen him play in Phoenix. So what if he needs to change the scenery? It does happen to guys.
Dude would be spoon-fed by Luka.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, he's been spoon-fed by Chris Paul for a couple years here. So,
but you also have the Pez dispenser on the wing wanting to shoot 30 times a game, which is he's I gotta brag on him just for a second.
He's killing it. I mean,
He's taking it up a whole different notch, and his whole defense, his best defense I've ever seen Booker play.
For
So
sure.
I joke about him. I will always joke about him, but
We
this
will
is the
always
best,
have Game 7.
yes, but this is the best basketball I've ever seen him play. But I think could you get Deandre Ayton without giving up the 10th pick?
I would hope so. I went into this making these packages thinking, okay, Ishiba's not going to give him up for nothing because he wants to win now. Like, he wants to get some value back from him. He's going to still think that he's the number 1 pick and all that kind of stuff. And he's also not who's their other owner?
Sarver?
He's not Sarver. Ishiba's not Sarver. So he's not just going to try to just save money, like just purely save money. And that's what some of the deals you were talking about, I think, are lean a little bit more that way. But been wrong in the past, and we've seen guys get traded for a lot less. But
I think for them, if they're trading DeAndre Ayton, they got to get at least 2 guys that's going to be locked into the rotation. So for them, I think that's what you'd be looking across the league for them. And they were, how would they view Tim Hardaway and Maxi Kleba as that type of thing? Would you have to put 10 in that deal?
Tim, Maxi, and JaVale. Like, hey, there you go. You get JaVale back. Do the bullpen center approach with Bismack, JaVale, and Jock Lando. And then Maxi, you can that's a 4, and then have Tim Hardaway as another shooter because you desperately need one. I mean, Landry Shamet. The Kyrie trade, by the way, it's Kyrie for Ayton and Shamet. I think that makes it work money wise, and you can't add anything else to Kyrie if you're going to sign and trade. It has to be just him.
I will say this,
and then they don't have anything else except for seconds. They don't have picks to trade. I mean, they don't have any young players with like lower contracts besides Ish Wainwright.
I will say this. I think I'm a little bit more. If Kyrie went to the front office and said, I want to go to Phoenix, I would be a little bit. I don't think that's the worst consolidation package back.
The worst one is Jalen Brunson leaving for nothing. That's the worst one.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, obviously it's not the worst one. We just saw the worst one last year that you could do. So, there you go. Let us know in the comment section, what do the Mavericks do? I think they should do it if it's one of the packages we talked about, especially if it's Isaac's package we talked about earlier that gets rid of some of that money, doesn't cost him a pick, doesn't cost him
especially if it's my package.
Especially if it's that one, and it goes for a cost that's that low. I think they should do it because where else are you getting that center? Is Jared Allen going to be available? That's like our pipe dream. My pipe dream is Miles Turner. Is he going to be available? I don't know. Those teams have no reason to trade those guys yet. Suns do have reason to trade Ayton. So we'll talk more about the Dallas Mavericks going through. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about what if they get the 4th pick. We'll have all kinds of lottery talk. The lottery is next week, so we'll have all kinds of talk about that this week. But guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.